The war has burned itself out. Smoke drifts over Kurukshetra, settling on the greatest warriors of an entire age. Bhishma, Karna, Drona, all dead. Yet, walking through the debris and the ash, one man remains standing, Kripacharya. The sole survivor claiming these ruins holds no claim to the throne. He engineered no great political conspiracy. He is simply the royal tutor. He is breathing, and he will continue to breathe. According to the ancient texts, he is cursed to live forever. To understand why a teacher is condemned to outlive his students and watch his civilization collapse, we have to look at the flaw hidden in his teaching. We have to investigate how absolute neutrality becomes a lethal weapon. Kripacharya's life begins entirely disconnected from human society. The ascetic sage Sharadwan breaks his deep meditation for a fraction of a second, and that displaced, intense energy physically manifests as an infant in a remote forest. Abandoned on a bed of tall reeds, the child is left to the elements. King Shantanu, passing through on a hunt, hears a cry and brings the boy back to civilization. Raised inside the opulent Kuru palace, the boy remains distinctly distant. The ascetic blood of his father and the isolation of his birth leave him psychologically walled off from the politics swirling around him. That emotional distance makes him highly valuable to the state. Patriarch Bhishma looks at the rising generation of intensely polarized royal princes and appoints Kripacharya as their guru. A teacher with no favorites, no political ambitions, and no emotional attachments serves as the perfect impartial mechanism to keep a fractured royal family in balance. Kripacharya views education as an equation. He maps out the prince's psychological flaws as variables that must be contained. Let's look at this abstract chart tracking skill, ego, and restraint. He targets Arjuna first. The young archer shows massive spikes in both skill and ego. Kripacharya applies constant opposing pressure to ground that pride and force humility. With Bhima, physical strength is a liability without focus. Kripacharya takes that volatile wave of rage and forces it down into a tight, straight line of extreme emotional control. Then he faces Duryodhana. The prince's explosive ambition acts like an expanding, jagged shape. Kripacharya works to box it in, trying to channel that toxic drive into focused leadership. Inside the classroom, this clinical calculus works. The princes achieve a temporary, mechanical equilibrium. But treating human beings like data points blinds the teacher to the moral decay taking root right in front of him. As the princes step out of the classroom, the Kuru court collapses into bitter rivalry. Kripacharya's greatest asset, his strict neutrality, morphs into his fatal flaw. Pacing slows, heavy. When Draupadi is dragged into the royal court and publicly humiliated, the teacher sits in total silence. He prioritizes his role as an employee of the state over basic human morality. When the war inevitably breaks out, he fights for the Kauravas. He holds no malice toward the Pandavas. He simply executes a cold, contractual duty to the throne that feeds him. The breaking point arrives on the last night of the war. Ashwatthama breaches the Pandava camp and slaughters their sleeping children. Kripacharya is present. He watches it happen, and he does not raise his sword to stop it. He holds the authority and the skill to intervene. By strictly adhering to the rules of non-interference when he has the power to stop a massacre, his silence becomes an active participant in the violence. As the sun rises over the slaughtered camp, Kripacharya realizes the truth. His students took his perfect equations of discipline and skill and used them to systematically annihilate each other. He drops his weapons. He strips off his royal armor, turns away from the palace, and assumes the simple robes of a wandering hermit. The curse of his immortality comes into stark focus. Eternal life is no reward for a job well done. It is a mandate to carry the agonizing memory of a fallen age into the future. He performs one final act of duty. He becomes the guru to the infant Parikshit, guiding a traumatized, fractured world into the dark era of the Kali Yuga. The long life of Kripacharya leaves a specific lesson. True mastery of your craft means knowing the rules. True moral courage means knowing exactly when to break them to defy injustice. He fades into the background of history, an immortal warning that standing by as a neutral observer in the face of evil carries the heaviest penalty of all.